Brumos's history on the racing side is really pretty impressive. This is my 50th year in racing, and we've won, lots of races. I'm a 5-time winner of the 24 Hours of Daytona, 2-time winner of Sebring, and a 3-time winner at the Le Mans 24-hour race. So we have a good history, and the cars that are here represent basically 50 years of racing, from my earliest 914-6, which Peter Gregg and myself won the championship in 1971, and then in 1972 I won the championship outright in the 911. So when you look at those cars and then you go forward to the latest, greatest 911 GT car, it's pretty impressive when you look at the evolution of the technology behind those cars. And then also on the prototype line, which is this line, starts with the 908, 917, 10, the 917, the 962, and the last car was our Daytona prototype. And the prototype cars are really pretty unique. They're much different than a platform car, but we're very proud. And then on the other side of the wall are Dan Davis's real love affair with the early Millers. And when you look at the technology of an Indy car, that was, not only the car was produced by Harry Miller, but the engine was done by Harry Miller. And when you combine those two elements and look at the cars that were represented at a place like Indianapolis, it's pretty impressive when you look at those cars. And I think Dan probably has some of the most unique and important Millers in the world. So he's really proud, and then it's intermixed with, the Peugeots from the early 1900s, so kind of the predecessor of the modern sports car. We have a Alfa Romeo 8C, which is an absolutely incredibly beautiful car. We have a board track. Those Millers were raced on board tracks because the board tracks were easy to build but really dangerous. So it's kind of interesting to look at the history just on race car development. And so this collection is really a testimony to the automobile, and Dan really was interested in having a facility where people could come in, they could learn about all the dimensions that go on with racing, the different types of race cars. A lot of people say, well, what's the difference between a GT car and a prototype? Now you can actually see the difference up close rather than somebody just talking about it. So I think we met that challenge, and this is a facility that is unlike any other facility in the world, and we're very proud of it. You want to start on the other side of the wall, which is the older cars, and just look at the technology that's involved in the aerodynamics and where people sit. A lot of those cars had a riding mechanic, so they could keep track of the wheel and wheels and the tires and also traffic. So the evolution as you walk through, starting from this side of the building, walking through, and then making the turn to come back on the racing side of it, your head is just pounding with all of the information that you're trying to absorb. So that there's no time limit. You don't have to be in and out of here in a certain time period. So really take the time and look at these cars closely. Look at the design elements that are with it, how they treated aerodynamic efficiency on the cars. And when you do that, it's interesting to see how far we've come. Also on the safety aspect, when you look at those cars, they don't have seat belts. They don't have very good, the cars are very fragile. They run on little tires that are this wide on the pavement. So when you look at those cars, which had zero safety effects, when you look at a modern car like the latest GT3 cars from Porsche, there's enormous safety issues built into the cars. Cars, when you see a car crash in a race today, the whole car's parts are flying off, wheels are coming off, engines are coming off, transmissions, and all that stuff is doing is taking energy away from the driver. So the last thing that is there is a survival capsule, and that's how drivers are able just to walk away from these horrendous crashes. as a technology that's involved in those cars. So when you look at the first cars that we have and then you look at the current cars that we have, you really see the design elements that go forth with those cars. Racing has always been the platform of technical advances. So when you look at what racing does for a manufacturer, it's development of products that go into passenger cars, disc brakes, let's say, fuel injection, all these components which we take as standard. We don't even think about them, but all that stuff was developed from racing, disc brakes. So I think we have a whole new era that we're going to come into, and I think a lot of the design things that manufacturers are working at will be improved by what we race in that arena. Every car here represents a significant moment in my racing career. So the car I'm sitting on, this 962, I drove with A.J. Foyt, who was one of my childhood idols, really, and to be able to race with him was a huge honor for me. And we had some good luck, but the cars spanned over a 50-year period, and every one is significant. The 43 car I won Daytona with against all the odds. The 917-10 was a car that I made the transition from a 911, which was a 300 horsepower car, into a 1200 horsepower car racing against the best drivers in the world. So that was a huge effort on my part, and a successful effort. I think Mark Donohue was really one of the ones that helped me get my head around driving a car like that. So it's hard to pick a favorite. Every car has a history, and every car has a very special part of my heart.
Support brands that support classic motorsports. Get your chemical solutions from CRC Industries. Visit crcindustries.com to learn more.